You're angry all the time at everything, at everyone. Traffic makes you rage. Your spouse's tone sets you off. Your kid's noise pushes you over the edge. Someone looks at you wrong and you're ready to explode. You're on a hair trigger, constantly irritated, always on edge, and you hate it. You hate who you become when you're angry. You hate the things you say, the way you make people feel, the fear in your kids' eyes, the distance it creates with your spouse, the way you snap at people who don't deserve it. You hate it, but you can't stop. You've tried. You've tried to control it. You've walked away. You've made wudu. You've counted to 10. You've tried breathing techniques. You've listened to lectures about patience, about controlling your anger, about remembering Allah, and nothing works. Nothing sticks. The anger is still there waiting, ready to explode at the smallest thing. Here's why. You're treating the symptom, not the disease. You're trying to control your anger, but anger isn't your problem. Anger is your symptom, your shield, your protection. You're not an angry person. You're a hurt person who never learned how to grieve. Anger isn't your character, it's your defense. It's easier to be angry than to admit you're broken. Easier to rage than to cry. Easier to blame than to heal. And now, anger is your default, your first response, your automatic reaction. But it's destroying you and everyone around you. This isn't about anger management. This isn't about walking away or making wudu or controlling your temper. This is about why you're angry, what's underneath it, what you've been avoiding, and the answer will change everything. Anger is never the first emotion. It's always covering something deeper, something you don't want to feel, something you learn to hide. Psychologists call anger a secondary emotion. It's what you feel after the first emotion surfaces, after hurt, after fear, after shame, after powerlessness. You're not angry at your spouse. You're hurt that they don't see you, don't appreciate what you do, don't understand what you're carrying. But hurt feels weak, vulnerable, so you convert it to anger. You snap, you criticize, you withdraw because anger protects you from admitting that their indifference hurts. You're not angry at your kids, you're overwhelmed, exhausted, unsupported. You're carrying more than you can handle, and no one sees it, no one helps, no one acknowledges how hard you're trying. But overwhelm feels like failure. Like you're not strong enough, so you rage instead. You yell, you lose it. Because anger feels stronger than admitting you're drowning. You're not angry at the traffic. You're stressed, anxious about being late, about what people will think, about letting people down, but anxiety feels out of control, so you channel it into rage at the car in front of you, at the red light, at the driver who just cut you off, because anger gives you something to do, something to blame, a target. Here's the truth. Every time you're angry, something else is happening first. You feel hurt, fear, shame, powerlessness, grief, and then immediately, without even noticing, you jump to anger because anger is safer. Anger feels powerful. Anger says, don't mess with me. Hurt says, I'm already broken. You learned this. Somewhere along the way, you learned that showing pain makes you vulnerable, that crying makes you weak, that admitting you're hurt opens you up to more hurt. So you stopped feeling those things. Or you feel them for half a second and immediately cover them with anger. Anger became your armor, your shield, your protection. But here's what you don't realize. That armor is suffocating you. You've worn it so long, you forgot it's not who you are. You think you're an angry person, but you're not. You're a hurt person wearing anger as protection. And until you take off the armor and feel what's underneath, the anger will never leave. Every time you snap, ask yourself this. What am I actually feeling right now? Not anger. What's under the anger? Stop for 1 second and feel it. You'll find hurt, fear, shame, powerlessness. That's the real emotion. Anger is just the bodyguard. It's protecting you from feeling what you're not ready to admit. Anger is grief's bodyguard. It protects you from feeling what you're not ready to admit. You lost something. Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it's ongoing. But you lost something, and you never mourned it. You never cried over it. You never named it. You just kept moving, kept surviving, kept pretending you were fine. And that loss, it turned into rage. Maybe your childhood wasn't safe. Maybe your parents fought constantly and you learned that home is a war zone. Maybe your father was never present emotionally and you grew up feeling invisible. Maybe your mother was critical and nothing you did was ever good enough. You lost safety, you lost presence, you lost unconditional love, and you never grieved that loss. Maybe you were betrayed. Someone you trusted hurt you, used you, lied to you, left you, and you never processed it. You just moved on. I'm fine. I'm over it. But you're not over it. You're carrying it. It's sitting in your chest, unprocessed, unresolved, turning into poison. Maybe your dreams died. You thought your life would look different. You thought your marriage would be different. You thought you'd be further ahead by now. And you're not. And you never mourned that loss. Never said, I'm grieving the life I thought I'd have. You just pushed through, got bitter, got angry. Here's what happens to grief that's not processed. It doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes anger, depression, numbness, addiction. You're angry because you're grieving something you never gave yourself permission to grieve. You're carrying loss you never acknowledged, pain you never released, and it's eating you alive. You were taught to be strong, to man up, to not cry, to not be weak, to have sabr. But sabr was taught as suppression, not processing. You thought acknowledging pain meant you lacked faith. You thought crying meant you didn't trust Allah. So you buried it, you swallowed it, you told yourself, I'm fine. But buried pain doesn't disappear. It becomes rage. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, cried. When his son Ibrahim died, he wept. Tears rolled down his face. His companions were shocked. They said, O Messenger of Allah, what is this? He said, the eye sheds tears and the heart grieves, and we are saddened by your departure, O Ibrahim. He didn't suppress. He didn't say, I'm fine. He felt. He cried. He modeled healthy grief, but you didn't learn that. You learned that feeling pain is weakness, that real men don't cry, that strong women hold it together, that Muslims have sabr, which means you don't feel. So you buried your grief and it became the anger. That's destroying you now. You're not an angry person. You're a person who never learned how to grieve. And grief that's not released doesn't go away. It just waits, and every time something small happens, it touches that old wound and you explode, not because of what just happened, because of what you never processed years ago. Grief that's not released becomes rage. You're not angry. You're mourning something you never named. Your spouse forgets to text you and you explode. You don't just get annoyed, you rage. You say things you regret. You bring up everything they've ever done wrong. The reaction doesn't match the trigger. Why? Your kid spills juice and you lose it. It's just juice. It can be cleaned, but you're yelling, cursing, slamming things, making them cry. The reaction doesn't match the trigger. Why? Someone cuts you off in traffic and you tailgate them, curse them. Imagine confronting them. Your whole body floods with rage. The reaction doesn't match the trigger. Why? Because the trigger isn't the problem. It's touching an old wound, a wound that never healed, a wound you don't even know is there because you buried it so deep. But it's there. And every small thing that resembles the original hurt, it hits that wound, and you react with the fury of someone whose pain has never been witnessed. Your spouse forgot to text, but what you felt wasn't just annoyance. What you felt was the abandonment from your father, who was never emotionally present, who never checked on you, who never cared where you were. Your spouse forgetting to text isn't the problem. The problem is you're still carrying the pain of a father who never showed up. And every time your spouse seems distant, it hits that wound, so you explode. Your kids spilled juice, but what you felt wasn't just frustration. What you felt was the chaos of your childhood, the home that was never safe, the unpredictability, the feeling that nothing was ever under control. The spilled juice isn't the problem. The problem is you're still carrying the fear of chaos. And every time something goes wrong, it hits that wound. So you rage. The driver cut you off, but what you felt wasn't just irritation. What you felt was the disrespect you've been swallowing your whole life. People dismissing you, talking over you, treating you like you don't matter. The driver isn't the problem. The problem is you're still carrying years of feeling invisible. And every time someone seems to disrespect you, it hits that wound. So you lose it. You're not overreacting to what just happened. You're reacting to what happened years ago, to what you never processed, to the wound that never healed. And until you go back and actually grieve that original loss, every small thing will keep triggering the big thing. This is why anger management doesn't work, because you're trying to control your reaction to the trigger. But the trigger isn't the problem. The wound is. And you can't manage your way out of a wound. You have to heal it. And healing requires you to stop, turn around, and face what you've been running from. The anger you feel today is the pain you didn't process yesterday. Last year, 10 years ago. It's all still there, waiting. And until you grieve it, it will keep showing up disguised as rage. You're not overreacting to today, you're reacting to yesterday that you never processed. Anger makes you feel strong, in control, protected. When you're angry, you're not weak, you're not vulnerable, you're powerful, dangerous, someone to be feared. And that feels better than feeling small, better than feeling hurt, better than feeling powerless. But underneath the anger, fear, always fear. You rage at your kids because you're afraid of losing control, afraid they won't respect you, afraid you're failing as a parent, afraid you're becoming your father. The anger makes you feel powerful, but underneath you're terrified. You snap at your spouse because you're afraid they don't respect you, afraid they're losing attraction, afraid they're going to leave, afraid you're not enough. The anger pushes them away. But underneath, you're scared of abandonment. You explode at work because you're afraid of being seen as weak, incompetent, someone who can't handle pressure, afraid of being exposed, afraid of being replaced. The anger makes you seem strong, but underneath, you're insecure. Anger is your armor. It's what you wear when you're terrified, when you're feeling small, when you're feeling threatened. It's the mask you put on so no one sees how scared you actually are. But the problem with armor is it's heavy, sighs and gasps, and it isolates you. And it confirms the very thing you're afraid of. You're afraid of being alone. Your anger pushes people away. You're afraid of being disrespected. Your anger makes people avoid you. You're afraid your kids won't love you. Your rage teaches them to fear you instead. The armor you're wearing to protect yourself is destroying the very things you're trying to protect. Allah describes believers in the Quran as those who swallow their anger and pardon people. But swallowing doesn't mean suppressing. It doesn't mean burying it and pretending it's not there. It means holding it long enough to understand it, to process it, to release it properly, not dumping it on others, not letting it spill out and burn everyone around you. But you can't swallow what you don't understand. You can't process what you won't acknowledge. You have to be honest. I'm not actually angry, I'm scared, I'm hurt. I'm feeling powerless and I'm using anger to hide it. That honesty, that's the beginning of healing. Anger feels like power, but it's fear dressed up in rage. And until you're willing to admit what you're actually afraid of, the anger will keep protecting you and keep destroying you. Anger feels like power, but it's fear dressed up in rage. Here's the truth you don't want to hear. You're addicted to anger. Not because you like it, but because it's easier than the alternative, sadness. Sadness requires honesty, vulnerability, admitting you're broken, admitting you lost something, admitting you're not okay, and you can't afford that. So you stay angry. Anger is active. It gives you something to do, someone to blame, a target, a reason. It externalizes the problem. They hurt me. They're wrong. If they would just change, I'd be fine. Anger keeps the problem outside of you, keeps you safe from the truth. Sadness is passive. It requires you to sit with the loss, to feel the weight of it, to admit there's nothing you can do about it, to acknowledge that you're hurting and you can't control it. Sadness is vulnerable, weak, honest, and you've spent your whole life avoiding that. So you choose anger because anger lets you stay in control. Anger lets you fight. Anger lets you believe that if you just rage hard enough, things will change, but they won't, because the problem isn't out there, it's in here. It's the pain you won't feel, the loss you won't mourn, the grief you won't release. You're addicted to anger because it protects you from being honest. It protects you from saying, I'm broken, I lost something, I'm not okay, I can't fix this on my own. Those words, they're terrifying because they require you to admit you're powerless. And powerlessness is what you've been running from your entire life. But here's what you're not seeing, that anger is also powerless. It's not fixing anything. It's not healing you. It's not bringing back what you lost. It's not making people respect you or love you or stay with you. It's just keeping you stuck, keeping you in the same pain, the same cycle, the same rage. You can't heal what you won't feel. You can't process what you won't admit. You can't grieve what you won't name. Until you're willing to be sad, really, honestly sad, the anger will stay. Because anger is what you use to avoid sadness. And sadness is where healing lives. You think crying makes you weak, but crying is honest. You think admitting pain means you lack faith, but acknowledging pain is the first step to releasing it. You think sadness is failure, but sadness is just grief. And grief is just love with nowhere to go. So you have a choice. Stay angry and stay stuck, or be sad and start healing. One keeps you powerful and miserable. One makes you vulnerable and free. Which will you choose? You're addicted to anger because sadness requires honesty you're not ready for. You think Islam teaches you to suppress emotions, to bury your feelings, to be patient, which you've interpreted as don't feel. You think showing pain means you lack faith, that crying means you don't trust Allah, that acknowledging hurt means you're spiritually weak. But that's not Islam. That's what you were taught, and what you were taught is wrong. Sabr doesn't mean suppression. Sabr means processing with trust, feeling the pain while trusting Allah's wisdom, crying over the loss while believing He knows what's best, acknowledging the hurt while surrendering to His plan. Sabr is not pretending you're fine. Sabr is being honest about how broken you are while trusting that Allah will heal you. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, cried when his son died. He grieved when his wife Khadija died. He wept when his uncle Hamza was martyred. He felt pain. He expressed it. He didn't suppress it. He didn't say, I'm fine, when he wasn't. He cried. And then he returned to Allah with trust. That's the model. Feel it. Release it. Trust Him. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to name your pain. You're allowed to say, this hurt me. This broke me. I'm not okay. What Islam prohibits is despair, giving up on Allah's mercy, believing He won't help you, believing your pain is bigger than His power to heal. That's prohibited, not grief itself. Grief is human. Grief, despair is disbelief. Don't confuse them. You've been carrying pain for years because you thought acknowledging it meant you were weak. You thought crying meant you didn't have sabr. You thought admitting your hurt meant you didn't trust Allah. So you buried it, and it became rage. And rage is destroying you and destroying everyone around you. Stop suppressing, start processing, cry in your sujud. That's what sujud is for. That's the closest you get to Allah. And closeness means honesty, not performance, not pretending. Honesty. Name your pain in your dua. Tell Allah, Ya Allah, this broke me. This hurt me. Ya Allah, I'm angry. I'm scared. I don't know how to carry this. Help me. That's not weakness. That's faith. Faith is not pretending you're strong. Faith is admitting you're weak and trusting that He's strong enough for both of you. Faith is bringing your broken pieces to Him and saying, I can't fix this, but I trust you can. Islam doesn't teach you to bury pain. It teaches you where to bury it in sujud before Allah. Not in your chest where it rots, not in your heart where it becomes poison, but in prostration where He can take it from you and replace it with peace. You've been trying to be strong, but strength isn't suppression. Strength is honesty, admitting you're hurt, crying over what you lost, then standing up and trusting Allah to heal what you can't fix. That's courage. That's faith. That's sabr. Islam doesn't teach you to bury pain. It teaches you where to bury it in sujud before Allah. You've been trying to control your anger, walk away, count to 10, make wudu, breathe, all the techniques, all the advice, and you're still angry because you're treating the symptom. You're managing the anger, but you're ignoring the wound. And wounds don't heal by being managed. They heal by being acknowledged, felt, and released. Healing doesn't start with anger management. It starts with grief work, with naming what you lost, with saying it out loud. I lost a safe childhood. I lost my father's presence. I lost respect. I lost my innocence. I lost my dreams. I lost the person I thought I'd be. Name it. Say it. Don't bury it anymore. Then feel it. Actually feel it. Not for 1 second before jumping to anger. Really feel it. Sit with the sadness. Let the tears come. Let your chest tighten. Let yourself break, because breaking is how healing begins. You can't heal what you won't feel. And you can't feel what you're constantly running from with rage. Find a space alone. Turn off your phone. Lock the door. Pray 2 rakahs. Not ritual, real prayer. Prayer where you're actually talking to Him. Then sit in sujud and don't say, memorize du'as, talk. Tell Him what you've been carrying, what you've been hiding, what you've been too scared to admit. Ya Allah, I'm hurt. I've been hurt for years and I never said it. I never cried over it. I just got angry because anger was easier than admitting I'm broken, but I'm broken. I lost something and I never grieved it. Help me grieve it now. Help me feel what I've been avoiding. Help me cry. Help me release this because I can't carry it anymore. Let the tears come. Don't stop them. Don't suppress them. Don't tell yourself I'm being weak. You're not weak. You're finally being honest, and honesty is where healing begins. Cry over what you lost. Cry over what was taken from you. Cry over the childhood you didn't get, the father who wasn't present, the mother who was critical, the betrayal, the abandonment, the dreams that died. Cry. That's not weakness. That's courage. You've been strong for too long. Strength isn't suppression. Strength is admitting you're hurt, releasing the pain, then trusting Allah to heal what you can't fix. That's real strength. That's faith. That's sabr. And then after you've cried, after you've named it, after you've released it, you stand up. You don't stay in the grief forever, but you don't skip it either. You feel it. You release it. Then you stand up and trust Allah. Ya Allah, I gave you my pain. Now give me your peace. Healing doesn't start when you control your anger. It starts when you grieve your loss. When you stop managing symptoms and start addressing wounds. When you stop being angry and start being sad, because sadness is honest. And honesty is where healing lives. Healing doesn't start when you control your